Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with the Founder. I'm Beck Bamberger, and we have wonderful founders on to share their thoughts, more so feelings about running venture backed companies and how crazy and insane it is because you got to be a certain kind of crazy, or as I say, a couple of standard deviations on the curve, on the outskirts to do a venture backed startup. And so that's what we're here to discuss and explore today. And with me coming live from New York, I bet, right, Trevor? Are you still in New York?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Trevor Barran, he's the co founder and CEO of FNCR, previously Financier, but we just changed it to FNCR. I like it a lot. Trevor, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Yes, yes. Okay, Trevor, why are you doing this company? Let's talk about that. And what is it, of course? It's to help SMBs. Well, I'm going to let you say it, but my notion of it is for companies who need some financing and they can't go to the top brass of the big banks, and they're not using something like NerdWallet for a 40K uh, financing deal to buy, plumbing equipment. They need other options to look for. So this is where you all come in. How would you describe?
Yeah, I started the company to solve this challenge that small and medium-sized enterprises have in the US, where there's kind of no one to call if you're looking for finance between 1 and $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a startup anymore, so you're not looking for necessarily VC funding, you're
Mm-hmm.
a business that has
Yeah, you're
revenues
a
or
regular
has
business.
assets,
Yes,
you're
it
growing.
makes money. It's profitable.
Yeah,
Yeah, shop.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's actually ludicrously difficult for you to attract and connect with meaningful, impactful funding. And I realized, there's structural reasons for this, but I'm quite familiar with it being a multiple time founder, and I really wanted to solve
Yep.
this problem.
Hmm. So you saw it up close. You saw it consistently. You've been at a number of places like Cloud Tree Ventures. You've been at Drake Star Partners as an advisor. Like, how did you get the problem so obvious to you?
Yeah, well, one, as you said, I've founded over 10 companies
Yes.
in various different industries, so I kind of could see it as you are growing your company and the options for
Hmm.
debt start thinning out. So that's one. Two, during the kind of COVID era and post-COVID, when there were a number of credits that were made available to small
Oh yeah.
businesses, I started
Like
a lending
PPP.
platform
Hmm.
for small businesses
Yep.
using those credits as part of the collateral.
Hmm.
And sometimes these credits were one, two, three, $10 million, and we built a lending platform against those credits.
Yeah.
I just got into conversations with a bunch of founders and CEOs, and I was surprised when they expressed to me kind of how happy and grateful they were to have us fund or finance meaningful multi-million dollar loans or credit financing into them. But I was surprised because when I looked at the companies, I mean, they were producing tens or 20s or $30 million of revenue, and their use of the funds was obvious. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
just won a big contract, and so I need the funding
You
to
need to.
ramp up and fill the contract.
Yeah.
So this started gnawing at me because it kind of shouldn't be the case. And
Yeah.
being an engineer, when I see things that don't make sense, I
Fix it.
just keep chasing them. Yeah,
Hmm.
something's wrong here.
And to clarify, the SBA participates in some way in this, of course. Like we've used SBA loans before, but where was the SBA maybe falling short on this, or was it just simply getting the access to them?
I think the SBA is great, first of all. I think the SBA program is just kind of a standout feature of the
Yeah,
American
it
economy.
is.
And I think the rates that one could theoretically get are pretty good for a business if you can obtain an SBA loan.
Hmm.
There are a few challenges, though. First, they're regulated. So they're subject, just like all bank loans, to certain conditions. And those are things like the owners have to personally guarantee the loan, which
Hmm.
stops making sense at a certain size, right? If you have a business that's worth
Yeah.
$50 million and you need $10 million, and your business has kind of all the capacity to absorb that debt, why as an owner
Why
do you
am
have
I
to
person?
kind of why do you have to put your house behind it, right? It makes no
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
The process, by and large, that people have experienced with SBA loans is a little bit protracted. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of back and forth, there's kind of multiple parties that have to say yes, the SBA
Mhm.
itself as well as the
Mhm.
bank. And
Mhm.
so I keep, I kept hearing and I continue to hear that that process can last a long time. It could be
Mhm.
3, 6, 9 months before business owners get an answer. And that's
Mhm.
a lot of time to invest. And meanwhile, you kind of needed the money
Go.
nine
Yeah.
months ago.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the private credit markets, the unregulated non-bank lenders, have actually, in many ways, solved this problem. Private credit has been a big theme. A
Mhm.
lot of capital has been allocated to the private credit markets, trillions of dollars. And you have a number of excellent private credit lenders who focus on lending to small and medium sized businesses. And even more than that, they focus maybe on an industry or a
Yeah.
certain
That they like.
kind of
Yeah.
need that they like and understand. And many of them have been in business for more than a decade, so
Yeah.
they really have understood who it is that they're serving. The challenge is no one knows how to find each other. There's 2,000 of these private credit lenders in the US,
Mhm.
which is sort of a uniquely American thing. And so the business owners don't have time to call 2,000 people and figure out who is going to match to them. And those private credit lenders themselves, because they're kind of very hyper focused, many of them aren't huge corporations with
Mhm.
100 employees and a big marketing budget.
Yeah.
And
They're
so
not
they
going after
also have a
deals.
tough
Yeah.
time connecting with
Finding.
the businesses. And
Yeah.
so we realized we
Yeah.
can kind of do a great service to this ecosystem and really to the economy by matching these two parties. And that's what we focus on, matching.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. And there's nothing like a two-sided marketplace to solve the like ambiguous morass of just where do we even find the people or whatever. So yes, gotcha.
Yeah,
Good.
and I'm a data scientist and kind of engineer by career and training, and I started to understand that the smaller loans to businesses could be solved using, let's say, purely data. So if it's
Right?
kind of, up to $100,000 type of loan, basically people are doing kind of a glorified credit card underwrite on the owner. And
Yeah.
they're basically saying like, hey, can the owner pay it back? If and I also get the business as collateral, sure, why not?
Hmm.
But those kind of instant underwrite type loans, they stop working above a certain dollar amount,
Yeah.
which is maybe around $200,000. It's really
Hmm.
hard to get those models to perform.
Hmm.
And so then, historically, someone has to do work in order to really
Yeah.
understand the business. But at the same time, the deal is too small to pay for three people to be full time on the
Exactly.
deal.
Exactly.
And it
It's not worth
doesn't
it. Yeah,
get
it doesn't
sort
match
of
up. Yeah.
big enough to pay
Yeah.
for the underwriting
Yeah.
party
Yeah.
until it's like north of 30 million.
So
There's a big,
that answers the why of like, well, why
yeah,
doesn't this exist? Why aren't there? It's because it's not lucrative enough. It's not lucrative enough for them to be pedal pushing people to like get the deal done because it's just not worth it. So hence you need a platform to match. But
exactly.
Trevor, what you have been saying is you're a multiple time multi founder. You're a finance guy. Okay, but on your LinkedIn you have 3x burner on here. Did you know this?
Of course, I'm very proud of
I
this.
love it. I haven't seen, but to be clear, I have not seen on a LinkedIn profile, especially from finance bro person in New York City, 3x burner. By the way,
Uh-huh.
though, why did you stop at 3x? Why'd you just like you stopped at 2010? You're not going
Because
again?
it took me until this year to convince my wife to go, so it'll be 4x this year.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, is she a first timer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've
We'll
been
see
one
you there.
myself. So, yeah, no, I will not be there, Trevor. I will not be there. I'm good with one and done myself. But maybe anything. It has been floated at BAM that we should do a burner at BAM, and
Little
I'm like,
offsite.
we don't have enough HR insurance on that, so we're not going to be doing that anyway. Is any of your team coming, or is this just purely you and your wife and your this is personal? Because I know the
And
business is done.
the crew that first dragged me there, some undergrad friends of mine from Princeton who
Okay.
really kind of showed me the inside
The
ropes and
essence. Mm,
got us involved in some art
mm,
projects, and it's great. I mean, I think
mm. Oh
it's
my
the
God.
thing
This is
it's the
your
thing I love.
15, this is your 15-year anniversary,
Yeah,
Trevor, since
yeah,
2010. Oh my gosh. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. 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 All right. Had to throw that in because see, I hope we're illuminating just for everybody. Like you think like, oh, founder of finance or computer nerd or something. No, Burning Man. But that's quite cliche in a way,
It
Trevor.
is actually, yeah.
Half of Silicon Valley is there. Okay. Okay. How do you now think of success, given all the companies you've built, you've exited, and so forth at this point?
Yeah, for a while, I've kind of thought about success in business. I'll take your question to be
Sure.
as
Yes.
steering capital where it makes the most positive impacts. So I'm kind of a little bit less about whose bank account money ends up in at the end of the day
Mm.
and like who takes it to the grave or donates it to charity or whatever, and more about how much positive impact can that capital have as it flows through the economy, and what levers can you pull to try and make it flow for positive impact. So for me, success is flowing capital in ways that make
Mm.
positive impact.
Mm. Very clear. I like it. Should be also on your LinkedIn.
Okay, I'll put it there.
Okay. Okay. Put your purpose statement on there. I'm like
Hmm.
leading the charge on everybody. Like, put your purpose statement on your website or on your LinkedIn so people can really understand this and like who the essence of you are. Okay. So, Trevor, as you are now building this next company, we're talking about team and how you attract the best talent. How do you now think of that?
Yeah, I believe that top talent is attracted to difficult problems. And so part of the way that I bind a team is to challenge them with the toughest problems that I can
Mm.
find.
Mm-hmm.
That is different than sort of pre-digesting the problem so that it becomes easier. I actually think that kind of exposing the team to the hardest things that challenge them, and also kind of holding them accountable to solve it, is the way to bind and attract talent. And that's kind of a method that's worked well for me in a few of the different kinds of companies I built that really required top talent.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the example of one of these brain teasers? Do you have one offhand?
Um, sure. One
Oh,
that I like is how many edges are there in a four-dimensional cube?
mm,
And I'm not going to make you answer it for me right now, Beck, because I don't know if you're really ready to be recruited by Financier.
I am not looking for a job yet. Thank
You
you.
might
Yes.
get so attracted that you want in, is my point. But the let me dissect the
Yes.
why that question is an interesting one. First of all, once you understand how people typically solve that problem,
Mm-hmm.
because you've seen 10 or 100 people solve it, you realize that there's a progression to this question. It
Mm-hmm.
starts sort of, it's a very simple thing to ask,
Mm-hmm.
but the unpacking of how you answer it can take sort of one of three different pathways. And all of those three different pathways are sort of logical, good and valid ways to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They are usually tapped into by people who think in different ways. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
question that has latitude. But one thing I love about it is that it's initially confusing and difficult for people to wrap their brains around. A lot of what you're testing for in a brain teaser is how people react to a situation where they don't know the answer.
And they're not the
And
smartest person in the moment, I'd
sure,
say. Mm-hmm.
and it tests your interaction because you know the answer. So you can guide them to it if they find the language to ask for help in the right way. So I find these kinds of questions to be very good facsimiles or microcosms of the kinds of interaction you have with a super high performing team who gives you leverage. Because ultimately we're all time constrained. And so you
Mm-hmm.
don't have time to solve every problem, but you might have a vision for how the problem will be solved. And so you could think of that brain teaser as a sort of 10-minute way of testing what that interaction will look like.
My first thought is math formula. See if there's the formula that works. But anyway,
I
we
knew
don't.
it. I know
See,
it's going to
yeah,
bother you now.
it
We'll do it
will.
offline.
It will. Okay, we'll do it offline. Okay, but Trevor, how? What's the percentage of people that say, uh, could I get a little help right here, or maybe a little clue or guidance?
It's super high, and I encourage
Really?
people to
Okay,
ask
good.
for it. I encourage
Oh,
people to ask for it if they feel like they're getting stuck. The goal here isn't to make someone feel bad. The goal is to model the interaction that you're going to have, right? Would you want, if you said to your high performing, I don't know, CTO, go solve this, would you want them to ask you questions along the way to clarify what's going on, or you would want them to go into a box and solve it? So, I think, again,
hmm.
I haven't found a better repeatable process for testing like a lot of candidates quickly than this type of brain teaser driven process. And you need like a good repertoire of kind of 30 of them.
Oh yeah, in the box, you mean? So you're just like, yeah,
Just
pull it
30
out.
different kinds of brain
Yeah,
teasers for different
yeah.
types of people. Sometimes
Ooh,
people get stuck, and again, that's not the point. If they get stuck, you just move on to a different one because you're trying to
yes,
test the way they think.
yes. Ooh, I like it. It's like my selection of the dinner party questions we do, the handwritten dinner party questions. Some of them are petrifying for people, but you got a big stack of them. You pull
Hmm.
them out and you're testing people to see what they say. How open are they
Hmm.
going to be? Or are they
Yeah.
going to give you just such a answer? It's boring. It's literally boring. But then you have to pull it out of them. So
Hmm.
good. Okay, Trevor, I like where this is going. This is good. This is good. Okay, to wrap us up for today, because we don't have that much time, Trevor, and we're just here
Sure.
for a short time. How about what recently became clear as you've been building this now company?
Um, I would say one thing that became clear recently is how important finding the story in a business is
Speaking my
to
language. Yes.
ultimately helping it with its success. So I've had a few different career lanes. One
Mm-hmm.
of them was in hospitality. Built a bunch of hotels and resorts, and did a bunch of work there. And the development mantra that I and my wife ascribed to was always only develop things that tell the story of the place. Otherwise, you're kind of not honoring and you're not stewarding the land properly, right? We're all only here for a temporary moment. If you're going to do something that really is authentic to the place that it's in. Don't drop like a project that belongs in, sort of one country or one environment into another one. That's doing the world a disservice. So I kind of knew that lesson from hospitality. It really works well in hospitality, but I hadn't really thought about how that applies to finance. So recently,
Hmm.
um, as we've been helping a lot of businesses, you kind of think my engineering muscle, being trained as an engineer, wants to gravitate towards there's a technical problem. Like you need to
Yes.
solve it in a,
Problem, solution.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's sort of a box here and let's solve it. And if we do a really, really good job of solving that technical problem, then everything else will just fall into place because
exactly.
ultimately it's all about the technical merit of the solution, right? Like that's the engineer brain. But I think the reality is
Pray to God
really,
there's no people problem
yeah,
component to it, right?
right, right, right.
This is the engineer's
No,
worst
the
nightmare.
reality
It's like,
is
oh, wait, people.
I think
People messing up.
solving the engineering problem is table stakes.
Yeah.
You need to solve that well. That's not really the problem. The problem is to get people interested to support you. And that's as true in finance. It's as true when I'm connecting a business owner and the exact right lender for them, as it
Hmm.
is for VC, as it is for taking a company public, as it is for kind of all these journeys that
Yep.
owners and businesses need to go through. You can't do it alone. You need the right people on your team, and getting them on your team is arguably more art than science.
Big time. Big time. Why? Because it's story and it's the belief of the story,
Mhm.
frankly, especially in startups, because all we have is a damn story. There is no outcome yet. There is no proof of the pudding. There is nothing. So you got to believe the story I am telling and see if you're like, you know what? Yeah, I want to see if that story comes true.
I think it's as true of the Series D company about to go public. They
Yeah.
have to tell the public market a story
Yes.
that is believable and that
Yeah.
has reasons to engender the support of the public masses. So I don't think that ever stops.
Oh, completely it does not. And then in the public company, guess what? It continues. Yes, you
Right.
better be thinking about it. It's just now on a 90-day time frame. So you better be
For
working
sure.
real hard.
For
Oh,
sure.
Trevor, burner, fellow burner, although I haven't been in a long time. Thank you for being on here today. This was so fun.
Thanks, Beck.
I loved it. Everyone, this is Trevor Barran. He is the co-founder and CEO of FNCR, as now we are rebranding to previously Financier. Trevor, see you in New York soon. You know it.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Looking
Beck.
forward to it.
You take
Bye.
care.